We are awaiting a redraft of the Irish Disabilities Bill, and that's due out pretty soon. Preliminary indications seem to be that it will be rights-based, but we have to look at the text.
Disabled people aren't at the decision-making tables, that we aren't in the powerful rooms where decisions are made.
Laws that says that it is illegal to discriminate against disabled people. That's no guarantee, but it is a signal, a strong signal to the authorities and people in general.
The draft disability legislation is something disabled people as a group feel the need for, and to underpin the rights of disabled people with a legislative bill, it should enable people to seek their rights in an authoritative way rather than currently in a almost charitable way in which people have to plead for services and plead for aids and appliance and approach local public representatives. All of this is not the way in which disabled people should have their rights met, and we hope that the forthcoming legislation will be rights-based.
Elected officials were then able to give feedback to the demands.
I think that the 8 demands of the Charter that's been presented to us are just and reasonable and proper. There's about 20 of us in the European Parliament, MEPs from all parties and all countries, who passionately support the call for disability rights, support the call for nothing about us without us. The enormous effort that's gone into bringing people from every corner of the European Union with no funding, the success that there's been in hammering on the doors of members of the European Parliament who frankly haven't ever before listened to disabled people must be sustained.
Without participation in the decision-making process, more often than not, decision makers get it wrong because they don't actually understand where people with disabilities are coming from and what they actually need. And you can only do that by allowing those with disabilities to have a major input into the decision-making process, because they're the ones who actually have the solutions.
However, this struggle for rights is not exclusive to present EU member states. 2004 will bring the biggest expansion of the European Union that we have ever seen. The transition from a community of 15 to one of 25 member states will become a major challenge. It is important that citizens of new member states benefit from the experience and struggles that have gone before in countries such as Norway, which has provided huge leadership in the development of independent living for disabled people.
The importance of this visit is that what I've become aware of is that so many people in Europe don't have these rights, and I think that that should be available to all disabled people, regardless of where you live.
One of the wonderful things that's came out of today's visit, to know that there are people at the European level that does have a positive influence on us, but can influence our state. So we are fighting this battle now for disability rights at a higher level, at the level of Strasbourg, and we are willing to go all the way and take all it takes to get there.
What we need to do in Ireland first and foremost as the way forward is to absolutely ensure that any legislation such as the forthcoming disability bill is protecting us, that it is a piece of legislation that offers rights, that offers redress in the courts, and that protects the individual, and that insists that the state is responsible for the equal participation of disabled people through independent living and offering choice and control.
Some of the challenges that I would reckon is that we would have to be facing is the accession of the 10 new states that are coming in, or the 2 new applicant member states, and making sure that they don't have to go through the same fight that we've had to put up with.
As well as awareness of issues on a European level, one of the 8 key demands dealt with the importance of ring-fencing 5% of overseas development aid. This to be given to projects for people with disabilities in developing countries.
We feel that if 5% of that can be ring-fenced for the disabled community in those countries where relief and emergency aid are given by the EU, that would be a step forward.
On the morning of Wednesday, September 24th, the largest ever gathering of people with disabilities marched from Strasbourg town to the front of the European Parliament buildings. Representatives from many of the countries taking part then addressed the assembled crowd to express the concerns of everyone there, after which the 8 key demands were officially handed over to Mary Benotti, MEP, as Pat Cox's representative.
We believe that the money currently invested in institutions which disempower us just waste people's lives. We ask you to divert these monies, to give us personal assistance, to give us independent living.
Nothing about us without us. Conditions that force us and keep us in residential institutions and parental homes for lack of acceptable alternatives rob us of mainstream life.
Critical issues expressed included the need for action to address the growing number of disabled people being institutionalised and the vital role that personal assistance services and direct payments can play in addressing this issue as a means of empowering people with disabilities.
We know best how to run our own lives. We know what we need to run our own lives. I know what I need to be able to live my life the same as everybody else, to work, to play, to live.
Institutions are not solutions. Institutions offer disabled people no hope and no dreams.
If we're out there living in society, society is getting some return for their investment. Whereas if they hide us away and lock us up, there is no benefit in kind to the state from the disabled community. And if you wish to do that to 37 million people, you're losing an awful lot of potential that could be given back to the state.
Throughout Europe, there are many, many disabled people still living in institutions where they don't have any control of what happens in their lives, about when they can get up in the morning, go to bed at night, what they eat, how they live.
Direct payments are a cost-effective way of delivering a service to people, the service that they need, whether it be personal assistance, housing, transport, or aids and appliance. So we see the need for direct payments to be a choice in places like Ireland and throughout the EU.
Benefits disempower people, benefits create dependencies. What we're talking about here is independent living, the right to choose which lifestyle we live and how we choose to live it.
The money of the services should be turned over to us in the form of direct payments. Then we do a better job.
A direct payment package, which means that your local authority fund you to pay then for your own care, and by having the person of your choice to do that care, should be able to be transported. You should be able to take that wherever you want to in the EU, which isn't actually the case at the moment. So for me that's really crucial.
It's a challenging time because we have disability legislation pending for the remainder of this year, and certainly the service system is going to be highly tasked to deliver needs assessment, service coordination, and the logical extension of this over time would be a direct payment system.